The cast of The Big Bang Theory had special contracts that included a secret clause. This clause stopped them from talking about what really happened behind the scenes. But in 2019, court documents were leaked, and what they revealed was shocking. The female stars of the show had received death threats, their homes were broken into, and some even got rape threats. One actress had to sign papers agreeing that if something went wrong during a medical procedure, she might wake up without a leg. Another actress was secretly struggling with an addiction to painkillers during filming. All three of the main female stars were told to stay silent about these things. Warner Brothers made sure no one talked. For many years, the truth was hidden, but not anymore. When the show was first created in 2006 by Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady, it was going to be completely different. Their original idea didn't include any female characters. The show was supposed to be about three male scientists, Leonard, Sheldon, and another guy, living in a world full of science and geek culture. No women were part of the story. At that time, TV studios didn't think a comedy about women in science would work. But when they tested the first version of the show with real audiences, the feedback wasn't good. People said it felt boring and one-sided. So, the creators decided to add a woman to the cast. At first, that female character was named Katie and was played by actress Amanda Walsh. Katie was tough, sarcastic, and emotionally distant. But again, test audiences didn't like her. She didn't fit well with Leonard and Sheldon, who were supposed to be kind and socially awkward. The network CBS agreed. They thought Katie seemed too mean. The show was almost cancelled before it even started. But instead of giving up, the creators rewrote the character. They turned Katie into Penny and hired Kaley Cuoco. This change was huge. Penny was fun, friendly, and warm. She wasn't a scientist, but she helped the audience connect with the nerdy guys. Later, two more female characters were added, Bernadette and Amy. These changes helped balance the show. It wasn't just about awkward science guys anymore. It became a show about relationships, love, and friendship from both male and female perspectives. As the show became more popular, the pressure on the cast grew. By 2014, Kaley Cuoco, Jim Parsons, and Johnny Galecki were each earning about $1 million per episode. The show was worth over $1 billion in syndication. Even a single 30-second ad during the 2013 to 2014 season cost over $326,000, second only to NFL games. With that much money involved, the actors were expected to protect the show's image at all costs. Kaley, along with Melissa Rauch and Mayim Bialik, felt that pressure even more. They had to stay likable and never make mistakes in public. In later seasons, the 5 lead actors even took pay cuts so that Melissa and Mayim could earn the same as them. That showed how important the female stars had become, but it also highlighted how hard they had to fight to be seen as equals. When Mayim Bialik first joined the show as Amy Farrah Fowler, CBS wasn't sure how viewers would react. They were worried people might think a female neuroscientist who was as smart and awkward as Sheldon would be too much. But they were wrong. Mayim made Amy funny, kind, and relatable. Fans loved her. Amy's character even won a Nobel Prize in the story, and Mayim Bialik herself earned 4 Emmy nominations. Audiences didn't just accept smart women on the show. They celebrated them. Behind the scenes, another secret was unfolding. Kaley Cuoco and Johnny Galecki, who played Penny and Leonard, had a real-life romance during the early seasons. Kaley had a crush on Johnny from the beginning, but he didn't realize it at first. During season 1, while filming a scene in an elevator shaft for the episode The Nerdvana Annihilation, something changed. That day they fell for each other. But they kept it a secret because they were worried it could break their contracts or harm the show. They never went on public dates, and no one on set knew. They even made up secret hand signals so they could talk privately. By the time they filmed their first on-screen kiss in the episode The Middle-earth Paradigm, they had already kissed in real life. Their first real kiss happened in Johnny's trailer. So when their characters kissed on the show, it was filled with real feelings. Their relationship lasted almost 2 years, but by late 2009, during season 3, they broke up quietly. Around that same time, their characters also broke up in episode 19, the Wheaton recurrence. Filming those emotional scenes right after their real breakup was very difficult. Kaley later said that time in her life was incredibly painful. She cried in her dressing room after filming the episode The Spaghetti Catalyst because the feelings were still fresh. The writers didn't know about their breakup, but the dialogue they wrote happened to reflect what was really going on between Kaley and Johnny. For example, when Penny talked about her insecurities, it felt very real to Kaley because it mirrored their real conversations. Mayim Bialik didn't join the show until season 4, and when she did, she was paid only $20,000 per episode, while the main cast was making $200,000 each. That was a huge gap, especially considering Mayim was already famous from her earlier show Blossom and had a real PhD in neuroscience. She was brought on as a minor character, but fans immediately loved her. Amy's character became a big part of The Big Bang Theory, but at first, her salary didn't reflect how important she had become. That unfair pay difference caused real tension behind the scenes. It took years of private negotiations and growing public attention before her paycheck started to rise. Her journey toward equal pay was long and difficult. It showed that even on one of the most successful TV shows ever, not everyone was treated fairly. Melissa Rauch, who played Bernadette, had an even harder start. She joined the show in season 3 and was paid only $1,500 per episode. That's the bare minimum allowed in the industry. But her character quickly became a fan favorite and ended up marrying into the main group on the show. Still, her pay didn't go up right away. Even after becoming a regular cast member, she earned much less than the others. Over time, her salary slowly increased, from $45,000 to $60,000, then to $100,000 per episode. By the end of the series, she was earning $500,000 per episode. In the final 48 episodes alone, she made $24 million. But it took years of persistence and proving herself season after season to get there. Her story showed how hard it can be to get fair pay in Hollywood, especially for women. Even Kaley Cuoco, one of the original stars, dealt with inequality. In season 2, she found out that she was earning $50,000 per episode, while Jim Parsons and Johnny Galecki were each making $100,000, even though she was supposed to be on equal footing with them. When she discovered the gap, she pushed back. After tough negotiations, she was able to raise her pay to $200,000 by season 4. From there, it kept going up, $350,000, and then by season 8 she reached $1 million per episode. Over the course of the show, she became one of the highest-paid actresses in TV history, earning around $150 million in total. But that early experience stuck with her. It was a clear example of gender pay inequality and how hard women had to fight to be treated equally. In season 11, headlines praised the main cast for taking a $100,000 pay cut to help Mayim Bialik and Melissa Rauch get raises. It looked like a generous act, but behind the scenes it wasn't entirely voluntary. CBS was worried about how expensive the show had become. At that point, the 5 main stars, Jim Parsons, Johnny Galecki, Kaley Cuoco, Simon Helberg and Kunal Nayyar, were all making $1 million per episode, while Bialik and Rauch were only earning $200,000. To fix this and keep the show going, CBS asked the 5 leads to take a pay cut to $900,000 each. This freed up $500,000 per episode, which was used to boost Bialik and Rauch's salaries to $450,000. It was a smart business move and good public relations, but it also showed how tricky money and fairness can be in show business. However, not everyone agreed with the raises. According to reports, Jim Parsons privately didn't support equal pay for Bialik and Rauch. He worried it would set a bad example. What if supporting actors on other shows started demanding the same? That could make things difficult for producers. Parsons never talked about it publicly, but people close to the show said his opinion added tension behind the scenes. Eventually, the pay structure was changed and the women got their raises, but it was clear that money could divide even the closest teams. Off-screen, Mayim Bialik had her own controversies. In 2009, she told People magazine that her family didn't vaccinate their children. Then, in her 2012 parenting book, She repeated those anti-vaccine views and quoted sources that many experts saw as misleading or dangerous. Her comments went viral, and backlash started to grow, especially as real disease outbreaks like measles started happening in areas with low vaccination rates. CBS became extremely concerned. The network brought in a crisis management team to handle the public reaction and protect their billion-dollar show. Later, Bialik tried to change the story. In 2015 and again in 2021, she said her children were fully vaccinated and that she supported vaccines. But the damage had already been done. Her earlier statements had become part of a national debate. People expected more from someone with a science degree, and her words had serious consequences. In 2017, during the rise of the Me Too movement, Bialik faced even more criticism. She wrote a controversial opinion piece in the New York Times titled "Being a Feminist in Harvey Weinstein's World." In it, she said that dressing modestly and behaving shyly had helped protect her from sexual harassment in Hollywood. While she did say that men were still fully responsible for their actions, her words came across as victim-blaming. Many people were offended, including celebrities like Patricia Arquette and Gabrielle Union. The backlash online was swift and intense. Warner Brothers became nervous and even discussed possibly writing her character off the show to avoid more problems. Bialik apologized later, saying, "What you wear and how you behave does not protect you from assault." But many felt the apology came too late. The damage was already done. In that same article, Bialik also talked about how she never fit Hollywood's beauty standards. She explained that because of the way she dressed and acted, she was never invited to private hotel meetings with powerful men. She said those choices were a way of protecting herself. But again, this upset people. It sounded like she was suggesting that other women could have avoided being harassed if they made the same choices. Patricia Arquette tweeted that she was harassed as a child, making it clear that this issue had nothing to do with clothing or behavior. Others came forward with painful stories. Even though Bialik tried to explain herself, her reputation took another hit. Even her science background couldn't protect her from criticism. Bialik has a real PhD in neuroscience, and her character on the show reflected that. But online, some fans and experts started to question her credibility. She hadn't published any research since getting her degree, and she hadn't worked or taught in the science field for years. When she made comments about mental health, supplements, or neurodivergence, critics said she was spreading false or misleading information. On forums like Reddit, people debated whether her academic background still mattered. Her story proved that just having a degree doesn't make someone immune from public scrutiny. In today's world, one wrong statement can bring a wave of backlash, even for someone with a scientific title. Meanwhile, Kaley Cuoco's life changed in an instant in September 2010, while she was horseback riding in Los Angeles. What was meant to be a peaceful, enjoyable moment turned into a nightmare for Kaley Cuoco. She was riding a horse when suddenly it threw her off. Things got even worse when the horse tried to jump over her, but ended up landing directly on her left leg. The impact was violent. The bones in her legs snapped with such force that they broke through the skin. Both her tibia and fibula were completely shattered. It was a compound fracture, an injury so serious that even experienced doctors panic when they see it. When she arrived at the hospital, the situation became even more frightening. Doctors warned her that they might have to amputate the leg. Before surgery, she had to sign a form stating she understood there was a chance she could wake up without it. At that moment, everything felt like it stopped. Chuck Lorre, the creator of The Big Bang Theory, later said that this was the most terrifying period in the entire 12-year history of the show. Fortunately, a highly skilled orthopedic surgeon named Dr. Stephen Lombardo was available. He performed emergency surgery within 2 hours, which helped save her leg. Miraculously, just 2 weeks later, Kay was able to walk with a medical boot. She only missed 2 episodes of the show, which was a shock to everyone. Even though the emotional and physical pain continued much longer, Kay saw her scars as a sign of her strength and survival. However, her struggles didn't end with her recovery. While healing, she became dependent on the painkillers she was prescribed. The pain was real, but so were the side effects. Her speech started to slur, and the production team had to step in. Editors worked overtime fixing her dialogue in post-production, sometimes re-recording her lines to make sure her character Penny still sounded sharp. No one outside the show knew what she was dealing with. On screen she had to stay funny and bright, but behind the scenes she was fighting her own private battles, with medication, with pain, and with the pressure to seem okay. The team around her protected her from the public eye, making sure everything on the show looked normal. Viewers had no clue how much effort went into hiding the truth. Then, in 2016, she faced a completely different kind of crisis, this time from the public. On July 4th, she shared a picture of her dogs sitting on an American flag. She probably thought it was a harmless or cute photo, but many people online were furious. They said she was disrespecting the flag. The backlash was instant and overwhelming. She deleted the post and apologized, but by then the hate had already exploded. Things got so serious that she began receiving death threats. The threats were credible enough that the FBI became involved. Federal agents monitored the situation and even gave her personal security. That moment was a painful reminder of how fast public opinion can turn, and how dangerous it can become. What started as a simple photo turned into a serious threat to her safety. While she was still dealing with that, her personal life also came under stress. In December 2013, she married tennis player Ryan Sweeting after only 6 months of dating. At first, it looked like a happy marriage, but by September 2015, she filed for divorce. This timing was important. The show was heading into its 8th season, and ratings were critical. Kay was under pressure to keep her public image clean. There were reports that Sweeting had become addicted to painkillers, and their home life had grown toxic. Luckily, Kay had a strong prenuptial agreement in place that protected her $45 million fortune. Sweeting left with only a small settlement. There was no spousal support, and the entire divorce process was kept quiet and handled quickly. Even her co-stars supported her and helped keep things running smoothly on set. But behind her smiling face, Kay was carrying a heavy burden. Her marriage was falling apart, and she was expected to act like everything was fine. The legal team, the cast, and the crew all helped keep the public from knowing what was really happening. At the same time, something else was going on, something no one noticed on camera. During seasons 5 and 6, Kay was silently struggling with an eating disorder. The pressure to maintain a perfect appearance, along with the stress of filming, pushed her into unhealthy habits. But again, the people around her tried to help without letting the public know. Costume designers added padding to her outfits, used layers of fabric, and the camera crew carefully chose angles that would hide the changes in her body. Everything was done to protect her privacy and keep Penny looking the same on screen. Kay was quietly getting help and recovering, all while continuing to show up for work. There were no news stories, no interviews about it, just a silent battle and a support system working hard to keep her safe and the show running. Kay had been through more than most fans could imagine. She nearly lost her leg, dealt with a painkiller addiction, faced serious threats, went through a difficult divorce, and quietly managed an eating disorder, all while keeping up her role on a hit TV show. She kept showing up, even though it came at a great personal cost. But the dangers of fame didn't stop there. Kay experienced something truly terrifying when a man broke into her home. He believed that Penny, her character, belonged with him and not Leonard. This wasn't just a strange fan, it was a real break-in. After that, Kay had to hire private security. She also had another frightening experience when a stranger entered her hotel room while she was getting dressed. These were not one-time events. They were part of a growing pattern where fans crossed serious boundaries. For Kay, being famous also meant living in fear. She wasn't the only one. Mayim Bialik, who played Amy, had her own terrifying experience. When Amy and Sheldon's relationship became physical on the show, some fans were furious. They didn't think Amy deserved Sheldon. As a result, Mayim received rape threats, not just rude comments but actual threats. Things got worse when she wrote an opinion piece in the New York Times about harassment in Hollywood. Some people twisted her words and accused her of blaming victims. Her social media accounts were flooded with hate. Eventually, she had to go live on Facebook to explain what she really meant and to ask people to stop attacking her. She wasn't just an actress. She was a real human being treated horribly for doing her job. Melissa Rauch, who played Bernadette, was also dragged into the chaos. Some viewers didn't like how her character treated Howard on the show. But instead of blaming the writers, they targeted Melissa. Her home address was leaked online, a serious and dangerous violation known as doxing. It wasn't just online bullying. Put her personal safety at risk. She had to live every day knowing that strangers could show up at her home. Throughout all of this, the actresses were told to stay quiet. Producers and managers warned them not to respond to hate, not to reply to trolls, and not to post anything that could add more fuel to the fire. Even when fans falsely accused Mayim of making fun of their artwork, she was advised to stay silent. Any comment could be twisted or misunderstood and turned into more hate. The women of The Big Bang Theory endured a lot behind the scenes. What looked like a light-hearted sitcom on TV was, for them, filled with challenges, fear, pain, and pressure. They smiled on screen while silently dealing with battles no one else could see. Staying silent didn't stop the abuse. In fact, it only made things worse. Many fans misunderstood the silence as weakness, or even guilt, and the actresses felt helpless. The pressure didn't just come from random strangers online. It became a part of their daily lives. Social media turned into a dangerous place. People criticized their appearances, judged their bodies, and picked apart their every move. Their private lives were no longer private. Every post, every photo, and every word they shared became a target for attacks. Kay shared how painful it was to go through a divorce while people online made fun of her. Mayim received even more hate because she openly talked about feminism,